All right, I am Reverend T. I am the unrefined priest, and today we're going to be looking at that interview CNN did with Doug Wilson. If you're not familiar with Doug Wilson, he is a highly controversial theologian that has been around for a very long time. It's not like this guy just crawled out from under a rock somewhere, no one's ever heard of him. Doug Wilson has been around for a very long time, and I guess Pete Hegseth and CNN decided they were going to dust off Doug Wilson and bring him out. Doug Wilson is a walking controversy. Tons of his ideas, concepts, the things that he says are highly controversial, and it makes for a great CNN interview because CNN, I would not imagine, would be friendly territory for a guy like Doug Wilson, although I think her name is Pamela, does a fantastic job, I thought. Very fair interview in my estimation. She does make a couple faces that are like, oh my gosh, but who doesn't when they're listening to Doug Wilson talk? Like, I myself find myself doing that quite a bit. Again, Doug Wilson he's not one of my guys, okay? He's not a guy that I buy his books. He's not a guy that I read his books. He's not a guy that I quote in sermons. He's just not one of my guys. But to say that Doug Wilson has nothing to offer, I think would be stupid as well. Doug Wilson does have some really great ideas and thoughts in certain areas, and in other areas I have a little bit of difficulty with him. Again, this is how I approach people. How I approach people and in listening is I try to listen to people when they're speaking. If I disagree with people or if I think people are saying crazy things, I just let those things go. But the gold that comes out, the things of value, the things that really have wisdom in there, I try to grab onto them, put them into my life, and put them into my own understanding. Now, I know that, we live in a culture where we just cast people off if they say one crazy idea, but that's the difference between wisdom and stupidity. Wisdom gathers the gold and throws away the rest. Stupidity just throws it all away. And I want to be somebody who traffics in wisdom as much as possible. So Doug Wilson may drive you nuts, but we're going to try to mine the gold in this. And the first thing that I want to talk about is Doug Wilson talking about the United States being a Christian nation, or more specifically, his desire for the United States to be a Christian nation. So she's going to bring it up, and then he's just going to respond, and so I'm going to play that. If you like what I'm doing, hit that like button. If you want to be a part of the channel, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to build a community, so hit that subscribe button. It would be much appreciated and cost you absolutely nothing. Let me get this rolling for you.
I mean, as a practicing Christian isn't enough for you.
It's not enough, no.
What does that look like, though, in America ruled by Christ, which is what you want?
Yeah. Well, the most noticeable things right out of the gate would be things that aren't going on anymore. We wouldn't have Clown World. We wouldn't have drag queen story hours. We wouldn't have pride parades. We wouldn't have abortion on demand. Those things would be gone. And that would be, boy, this is different. So the thing that a lot of the people in the middle, let's call them normies, people who are they're not particularly theological, and they're not hard left either. They're just, I just want to live a normal life. That's so wrong. The last 5 years has really unsettled them a great deal because Clown World is not a livable place to bring up kids. It's just not. And a lot of the...
All right. Let me just jump in here. Sorry, my internet is not as good as it should be. But there's a couple things that he says here that I think are really important to understand. First of all, he does bring up the idea that we have been living in quite a strange time as Christians. We've been living in a world where abortion is considered a good thing and something that you should fight for. We've been living in a world where men are women and women are men. We've been living in a world where two guys can get married, and not only can they get married, but they should get married, and that can take place in the church. And not only should it take place in the church, but it should be celebrated as well. And what he brings up is, he refers to this as clown world. I would not be, that's not the language that I would use, but he ain't wrong. He's not wrong that young parents are looking out at this world and they're saying to themselves, this is not a livable world. And I think that that's just true just across the board. People looking out at this, at the world. It's not just people raising kids. I mean, that's the first line where people really begin questioning these wild ideas, is because they're raising kids. But, senior citizens are looking out and they have the same questions. And so do, people who are in the prime of their life, wrestling with the same things, like, wait a minute, all of, normal thought has been suspended, and now we have to live in this completely different reality, and I'm not sure that I'm comfortable living there. And what that has done, and he's going to talk about this a little bit later on, but I'm not going to play it because my internet is failing me, but what he talks about is the effects of that is that people started returning to the church. And you really started seeing this take place during COVID, and then immediately after COVID, and especially right now, you're seeing an influx of people coming into the church because they've been living in a certain world for, I don't know, the last 4 years at least. But I would say go back way further than that, and they're looking out at the world and they're saying to themselves, I don't want to live in this world. I don't think that this world is sustainable. I don't think this world is good for my kids. I don't think this world is good for me. And I don't think this world is good for civilization. And so they're rebelling against the current culture. And in rebelling against the current culture, you find them running to a strange place, which is the church. And you're seeing an influx of people coming into the church. But all of this conversation began with the idea of living a Christian life is not enough. Like just you all by yourself saying, I'm going to try to be the best Christian I can, that's not enough. We want a Christian nation. And Doug is going to say, yes, we want that. And the moment that he says that, Christians all over the place go, he said it out loud. See, he wants a Christian nation. He's horrible. And that's confusing to me. Like, I don't understand. I understand if non-Christians are frustrated by that. I understand if non-Christians are like, yeah, we got him. He finally said it. I don't understand how Christians are frustrated with that. Isn't that what we should want? Isn't that what all Christians want? I mean, for the life of me, I can't figure out why Christians would be angry that Doug Wilson wants a Christian nation. I mean, part of what it means to be a Christian is that you and I have been called not just to live the gospel in isolation, but you and I have been called to live the gospel among other people. You and I have been called to proclaim the gospel, not just to the nations, but the people in our nation, to our neighbors, to our coworkers, to our family, to our friends, to people that we interact with on a daily basis, or people that we just see once. You and I are called to proclaim the gospel to all of the people that we interact with. What do you think the consequences or the effects of all this proclaiming of the gospel is meant to do? Well, it's meant to convert people to Christianity. It's meant to bring more and more people from this nation into the faith. Well, if that's taking place, what do you imagine is happening to the nation? It's becoming more and more Christian. It's becoming a Christian nation. I mean, this is what we are called to do. And the fact that Christians are angry about this really makes me think that we have completely lost our way. That we want to live in a world where the things that are not of Christ reign, rather than living in a world where the things of Christ reign. These are not the words of Doug Wilson. This is the words of the interviewer. The interviewer says, you want a Christian nation, and then she goes on to describe what that would look like. And this is how she described it. An America ruled by Christ. How do you not want that? How does that make you angry? How do you think that we finally got Doug Wilson? He said it out loud. He wants an America ruled by Christ. Yes, of course he does, because he's a Christian. The bigger question is, why don't you? Why don't you want that? And what's really frustrating to me is that it's the people from my own denomination and denominations like it that are angry and frustrated at the idea that somebody could want a Christian nation. It's what we're actually called to do. It's what we're called to be. Now, we don't make a Christian nation with the sword. Now, I know that there have been times in the past where that has taken place in Christian history, but that's a deviation from what we were supposed to do. We're always supposed to make a Christian nation with the sword of the Bible, with the proclamation of the gospel. I'm confused, frustrated, and a bit angry that Christians don't want to live in a Christian nation. I mean, in some sense, it makes me wonder, like how's heaven going to go for you? Like, if heaven is all about us and Jesus and God, the Father and the Holy Spirit, and you don't even want to live in a Christian nation here, how is eternity going to be for you? Do you really want the things of God? I mean, again, this is not directed towards non-Christians. I know you don't want the things of God. I know you have no desire to live in a Christian nation. I get it. I respect it. What I don't respect is Christians that don't want the things of God. Christians that don't want to live in an America ruled by Christ. And if you don't want those things, just do away with the title. If you don't want to be a Christian, just stop calling yourself a Christian. Look, I'm not the biggest Doug Wilson defender, but I'll defend him to the death on this one. It's astounding to me. I don't understand how we got to the point of saying the desire of a Christian should be to live in a Christian nation, and that somehow is a bad thing. I think we need to reconsider. We need to reevaluate what we believe about Christ. Because what Doug Wilson said here is what every one of us should be proclaiming. And if we're not, that's not a Doug Wilson problem. And it's not a me problem either. It's a you problem. That's all I got for you. I am Reverend T. I am the Unrefined Priest. If you like what we're doing, hit that like button as well as the subscribe button. We would love for you to be a part of the channel, and I will catch you on the next one.